Well, it looks like we as a whole may need to retire hands up, don't shoot, maybe replace it with something like crawl and big for your life. With the shooting of Charles Kinsey going around in North Miami being a blitz of scrutiny, let's talk about what exactly is going to happen. So, it's the inevitable. It's time for us to face the facts and admit that the reason Black Lives Matter is not taking hold in white America is because to you, Black lives just don't matter. And that's point blank the argument that needs to be made, is the fact that this is racial baiting and racial tensions are rising, and this is just to cause civil unrest between whites and blacks, also amongst civilians and cops, and it's working exactly how it needs to. I mean, these glorified shootings that are being seen on the TV almost nightly and routinely at this point are just being fodder for us to get enraged and to want to find an outlet, and for that outlet to soon be rage. And I feel like when you pay attention to people like Mark Passio, and I took you guys through that chart that talks about how if you're led down the path of fear, it leads to chaos, but if you're led down the path of love, it leads to order and love and harmony. And it's insane to me that we're not able to recognize this as a people, and we're not able to see that media is being used as a pawn to display these horrific murders on a minority group here in America, just to bait a situation that will escalate, just to use militant police officers and to invoke martial law. And we need to be paying attention to everything happening in the news, even the behind the scenes stuff, because rumblings and legislation that's been passed are showing that Obama, as the sitting president, or whoever the future president may be, is getting the authority to rush to a martial law declaration within 24 hours without needing congressional approval, and just have the authority to whip it into play. This is big deal issue stuff, and with all these mass shootings and with all these false flag reports, and now seeing all of these black men and women, but mostly black men, shot and murdered on our streets, it's baffling that we're not putting the pieces together, to me, and having a conversation about what's really going on, and the fact that no cops are being held accountable. This cop who shot Charles Kinsey was put on administrative leave, but this is a weird situation. So let me dial it back for you if you haven't heard about it. Charles Kinsey, North Miami, a caretaker, a therapist, if you will, at a caretaking facility, was out with an autistic young man. And it looks like from the video, the autistic young man was having a bout of trouble, and maybe an outburst happened. Nothing serious, average, probably a daily occurrence for Charles. So he was dealing with that, and it appears that 3 cops drew guns and caught Charles completely off guard. He appears to just be shocked this whole time, but he gets down on the ground, puts both hands up in the air, and says, "Please do not shoot me, we're not armed." He's holding a toy truck, that's all. And at some point throughout the video, I'm not sure if it's on the video or not, the news affiliate that I watched the video on didn't have it included, but one of the officers shot 3 bullets, one injuring Charles Kinsey. Thank God it wasn't fatal. However, the most atrocious part of the story isn't even him getting shot. It's the fact that after realizing that it was completely a mistake, and with Charles asking the officer, "Why did you shoot me?" and the officer responding with, "I don't know," which is complete grounds for his termination as a police officer. That's baffling. They then proceeded to handcuff Charles Kinsey and leave him on the ground to bleed out. What? These people are to serve and protect. But all of this is just a nice little 400-year-old American history lesson rolled up into fodder for YouTube. I mean, that's really all this is. It's just to completely show that this Western mentality of the Euro white dominant superior mind is corrupting the world, and we're not paying attention to all the devastating effects that it's had on people of color of all nationality, but especially of Black Americans. We have just completely torn them apart. And for a side note, I just almost feel like this is a testament to the time we're in. It's just so weird, as a small community amongst this sea of white people, and I can only imagine how scary it was and is. And like in the 80s and 90s, I felt like there was a huge it was probably the tail end of the 60s and 70s, just like this black movement, this black empowerment. And they had groups and communities with strong leadership, like Martin Luther King and Jesse Jackson and Malcolm X. Like, these leaders were putting themselves in the front line. That's what a leader would do, unlike a boss or a president who's just going to tell people what to do. But they actually risked their own lives. And it was an incredible thing to watch or to hear about, even when you're being raised by people who were fearful of that movement rather than behind it. But then when you grow up and you're also a part of a minority yourself, because I'm in the gay community, and you see the strife we've gone through and the pushback and how mainly white America is fearful of the gay community just like it is the black. They're fearful of the unknown. And it just goes to show you that black people here in this country, they have heart. It's just pure will to survive, and an okay and a willingness to fight back against authority. And the authority figure in this country just so happens to be ignorant white America, along with white militant old men leadership. Like, that's really the systemic problem. And when white people aren't okay with taking on the responsibility and taking on the accountability for what racism was and what slavery was and what racism still is, and the fact that we're all still slaves but nobody's talking about it, this is white America's problem. And therefore white America should be the ones in charge of figuring out the solution. And yet we push it off onto the minorities yet again. Like, you see gays fighting for rights just like you see black people fighting for survival. I mean, if gays should take anything from the black playbook, because we have dealt with the same strife, it's that we're next. This Hunger Games of the police taking out fucking minorities, it's not going to stay in the black community forever. There's going to be another minority to move on to, and I don't get why people don't see that. Like, literally, we need to start understanding that these movements are snuffed out for a reason. It's just creepy when you watch videos like this, like with Charles, and the fact that we have to caution ourselves when we question police and question authority, and the fact that it might get you shot or killed. And it's scary. And, you know, a lot of the comments on YouTube are saying stuff like, ooh, somebody's getting benched in the police academy because they didn't kill the nigga, and this is going to be a lot of explanation on their behalf. The fact that it's almost looked at as a failure because the man survived. Like, that's the culture we're in. And I'm 30, and that makes me upset. Can you imagine being a child, being raised in this environment where the adults look like lunatics, where it's like nobody can handle themselves in a manner? It's like weird that I grew up thinking adult meant respectful, intelligent, works well with others, knows how the unit of this country would run, and yet it's all high school. It's high school for the rest of your life. You're dealing with the stupidity of this small elite class being in charge of everyone, and all these pawns doing nothing, just because that's the belief system that's been here for so long, and we're scared to challenge it. And it is scary to challenge it, but fucking buck up. Like, the whole epitome of reaching enlightenment is overcoming fear. Fear is just your reptilian brain. We don't even need it to survive. Look into that. I'm not explaining it, but it's just like, fear is fake. It's a fake thing, and we're brought up in a culture that makes you focus on it. If you turn on the news right now, I mean, my God, there's fear-mongering about head lice and Pokemon Go. Like, they're making two things that are completely ridiculous newsworthy, but beyond that, they're trying to scare you with them. Scare you to make you think that if you play Pokemon Go or know somebody that does, you know, they're too stupid to realize that while you're out in nature or running through traffic, you might want to pay attention. And then the fact that head lice, it's been around since everybody went to grade school. Not a big deal. Get some fucking Rid shampoo, you're done. But they're putting that in the news to, like, fucking scare people. Now, new study shows people who take selfies risk at head lice. It's like, who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares? I mean, granted, let's crack down on the narcissism, people. The selfie thing is out of control. It's just weird. Who needs that many? Do you need a picture of yourself from every day at, like, some stupid angle with some stupid ducklet? I don't understand this phenomena. I'm so confused. Anyway, side topic, I just wanted to mention that A lot of people are talking about how Hillary Clinton for VP, Elizabeth Warren, and while everybody's fucking standing in applause and 2 women on a ticket, rah rah sis boom bah, let's pray for clits, I'm not jumping on that board. This is gross and it's like some fucked up psyop. I'm so disappointed in Elizabeth Warren, who was just side by side with Bernie this whole last run, completely ignoring Jill Stein, and now I'm questioning Bernie's motives and why he just jumped on the bandwagon to endorse Hillary when all of his supporters were like, don't you dare either run independent or support Jill Stein, be Jill Stein's VP. Something needed to be different. This all just feels way too mechanical and fucking maniacal, and I feel like the elite. I was talking to my boyfriend about the possibility of if Bernie Sanders was given to us in such a way where it was like he was left off the media and he was scrutinized and not talked to and vilified by mainstream and the candidates in almost the opposite way that Trump was boasted and put all over the media. And it makes me wonder, are the elite that smart to be 2 steps ahead of us, the people, even the thinking people that are like, okay, let's go independent, grassroots support Bernie Sanders, and then we're duped into thinking he's the real candidate because he's not being put on the media and he's with the people and he did grassroots, when all the while he's just there to support Hillary. He just took all your fucking money and ran too. Like, for him to jump on Hillary's bandwagon, I'm so goddamn confused, and I don't get it. And I would put my support behind Jill Stein, but I don't trust a lot of them, and I am completely understanding the theory of not voting and to show the elite we do not fall for this system just because you have the rest of the sheeple believing that their vote matters, when meanwhile you're kicking back with cigars and Chablis on your fucking yachts on November 4th, the election night, knowing that it doesn't mean shit and this is all a false flag and ops everywhere. Ops, get me out of here. Sometimes I don't know what to do with this reality. Like, these are real thoughts, and no matter who's laughing them off, in your life, in my life, know what? Their reality is fucking dumb, because we're here to do something else. If you really think we're here to war with other countries around the world because they have brown skin or they don't speak our language or they believe in a different god, you're fucking wrong. You're not here on this plane to fucking experience war and hatred. You're here to do something, to give your fucking version of consciousness, to give your perspective and to voice your truth. That is the only thing you're here to do. I was watching something that was really fucking mind-blowing, talking about how everybody who's ever existed, whoever will exist, anybody you're thinking of, no matter at what point in time, all exist in the now, at the now moment, right here. However, they're just like leaves on a tree, and in their point of time is where their consciousness woke up. So it's like, think of Aristotle, think of Einstein, think of yourself, think of me, think of an actor, an actress, a singer, a celebrity of any point in time. They all lived right now, right with you, right now, in this now. However, their consciousness awoke at a moment that we're either to know about now to prepare us because we're all one consciousness moving forward, or they're still to happen in the future because it connects. And it's just a really interesting idea, and it's been blowing my mind ever since, but it's something to think about. Why aren't we doing more? Why aren't we voicing more? Why is it bad to question authority and to question police, but it's not bad to villainize black people who are just trying to speak up and say, please don't fucking kill us on the streets? Like, that's all they're asking. They're not even asking for anything, just basic human decency and rights. Like, I'm so confused. And this is the world we live in. And that's just what I wanted to make a video about. All those kind of blah topics. I know this is just shitty. It's just adding to the shitty. Like, I don't even want to be talking about this negative shit all the time. It's just, I think the point of doing it is to make sure people are waking up, make sure that people are not nescient to this information, and that just means it was never made privy to you. Being ignorant is when you know it but choose to ignore it, and that's what a lot of people in this world, that's what we're dealing with. So just like Jesse Ventura says, stay vigilant, and that just means true to your convictions, and just know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Research everything, always question other people as well as yourself. Always be open to new information and never get in that comfortable spot where you think you know, because you don't know. I don't know. I'm still learning. I'm learning every day. And that was probably one of the biggest lessons I had to learn this last year, is to always learn and never think you know. That's it. That's all you have to do, because we're forever changing. Scientists right now are proving Albert Einstein wrong and his theory of relativity, and gravity might not even exist. we'll get into that in the future. But anyway, thoughts to leave you with, and I hope you're having an amazing Thursday. The weather's beautiful. Hope it is where you are too. Look more into why it's not okay to challenge authority, and really start paying attention to why all of these fucking circus-corralled media folk are just portraying these murders of black people on the TV like they're fodder for the day. Think about it. It's fucking weird. We live in a gross time. I want to be doing more, and I'm trying to voice stuff just to align myself with people who have a better idea of what to do. That's basically my point. Nothing else. I'm not trying to make anybody angry, just more insightful. Anyway, question people. Do you. Take care of yourselves. Peace out.